if I were to ask you to name a game by the French developers Ubisoft, what game would you choose? One of the Tom Clancy titles? A game from the Rayman series? Or perhaps even a game from the highly critically acclaimed Assassin's Creed saga? But what about Beyond Good and Evil? This cult classic title was released across all platforms at the time, and while it received very high critical praise, it was fairly unsuccessful commercially. But despite its lack of sales, this game has been considered by many to be an excellent title, and has even made its way onto many lists, calling it one of the greatest games of all time. This game has garnered such a following that a sequel was confirmed in 2008, and an HD re-release was released on the Xbox Live Marketplace and the PSN in 2011. This is the version of the game that I will be covering in this review. So, what are my thoughts on this highly touted cult classic? Well, let's take a look-see, shall we? This game takes place in the year 2435 on the planet of Hillis. This is where we meet our protagonist, Jade. Jade is a freelance reporter and occasional martial artist who cares for orphan children at her home lighthouse with her surrogate uncle named Paige. He is a pig. But all is not well on this seemingly peaceful planet. Every day, Hillis is under attack by an alien race named the Doms. While their intentions aren't initially made clear, what is clear is that they are not to be trifled with. As they attack, the current dictator rulers of Hillis, named the Alpha Sections, are there to fend off said attacks. Poorly, I might add, as the first time you encounter the Doms, Jade fights them off long before the Alpha Sections manage to arrive. A bit later, Jade and Paige run into a rebel organization named the Iris Network. Iris is an organization that is opposed to the Alpha Sections, as they suspect that they have less than favorable intentions for the citizens of Hillis. As such, they commission Jade to collect evidence against the Alpha Sections and send her on a few missions. Along her missions, she then meets the second member of her team, Double H. Double H is a captured Iris agent who decides to join her along the way. So with the help of the Iris Network, it's up to Jade, Paige, and Double H to uncover the conspiracy of the Alpha Sections, all while fighting off the Doms and oftentimes hostile creatures of the planet. This game is a pretty standard adventure game, with some stealth and fighting aspects thrown in. The combat in this game is fairly simple and straightforward. You only use one weapon, and may only strike, strafe, or use a power attack. As previously mentioned, stealth does play a very large role in most of these missions, as you need to infiltrate Alpha Section bases. While you may engage the enemies in combat if you wish, many times subtlety is encouraged. Aside from just the combat though, there are occasional platforming elements, along with puzzles thrown in to change up the gameplay. Now let's move on to the currency system. Purchasing standard items such as food, upgrades for health, or other basic necessities are bought using credits, which is the standard currency on Hillis. However, upgrades for your vehicle, which are needed to progress through the story, must be purchased from rhinos in the form of pearls. Do I look like I'm making that up? While not necessarily rare, they are tougher to come by than credits. Most pearls can be found by defeating bosses, doing some exploration, or even just playing minigames. This game overall is actually fairly short if you just follow the main storyline, clocking in at around 8 hours. And now for the reviewing. The graphics in this game look pretty damn good. I have seen what they looked like before the HD update, and while they did look adequate for the time, this re-release did do a great job of smoothing out some of the clunky bits. Not to mention, the environments on this planet look absolutely gorgeous. It's almost as though the planet was intentionally made to look peaceful to hide the atrocities that are occurring. As for the gameplay, it is basic, but it works well enough. Basic movement and camera control aren't much of a problem, but you may have a little bit of trouble with the combat. Like I said, there's nothing really wrong with that aspect, but it can feel a bit stiff due to the fact that the game auto-aims onto your enemies, and you can only really strafe for movement. But on the other hand, this does work in context for most of the missions, considering stealth takes priority and you shouldn't really be fighting to begin with. But something I really noticed about this game was the difficulty, or more so, how they handle the difficulty. Now, I'm by no means saying that this game is particularly hard, but what's interesting is the amount of challenge thrown in with the missions. For the most part, this game will not hold your hand when it comes to telling you what to do. Sure, you will get hints here and there as to what needs to be done to progress, but this game doesn't baby you every step of the way. Believe it or not, I actually like this. This game really doesn't take its players for granted and assumes you're smart enough to figure out solutions on your own with just little hints here and there. I do, however, have a couple of issues with this game. Firstly, like I said before, this game is pretty short. Now, it's really not too big of a deal as I only paid $10 for this game, but this upsets me as I wish that the storyline were fleshed out a bit more. My second problem is the pearl collecting. Now, like I said, finding pearls isn't really a big issue if you know where to look and simply use common sense, but finding the amount needed for many of the missions, especially getting to the last mission, can be very time consuming and really unnecessarily extends the game time. So, in conclusion, what are my final thoughts on this game? Well, this game is very interesting. I wouldn't call it perfect, but there are some fairly unique elements here, along with an engaging storyline. So while this game didn't really blow my mind, I can say that I'm still interested as to where the sequel will end up. So, if you like action-adventure titles, then I can recommend checking this game out. So until next time, this is E-Dog. Am I evil? Yes, I am. See you next time.